Good morning. This is Evolution. My name is Brandon Fogal, the only legitimate evolution there is. Today we are going to dive into the book of Ecclesiastes. Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. Have you ever thought about this? Well, if you have, you are in good company. The richest, wisest man on earth thought about these very same things about 3,000 years ago, and he was raising these same questions, King Solomon. We're going to dive into the book of Ecclesiastes. There's so much going on there. I've heard whatever you think the most important book of the Bible is, whether it's Romans, the Gospel of John, whatever it is, what the second most important book in the Bible is the book of Ecclesiastes, because it raises the question, what's the point? What's the point? And we're also in this video where I'm going to take a look at a clip from, his name's Duncan Trussell. He was on Danny Jones' podcast, and he raised a really good question about wealth and being rich. And does that answer everything for everybody? The answer might surprise you, or it might not. I don't know. We'll dive into this and check this out. I'm actually going to go through the book of Ecclesiastes, read it, give commentary, bring up some questions, and I need this almost just for my soul, my spirit. I don't know about you. I want to hear it. And if you're a person that's not into the Bible, you're not into that whole religion thing or anything like that, it's still ancient writing, so just maybe take it from that angle. It's an ancient writing of what people a long time ago thought about, but it made the canon of what we call scripture, so it's still wise to listen to. I mean, I would say. All right. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Israel, or king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Replace that word vanity with meaningless. That kind of drives a little bit more home with me as meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What advantage does man have in all his work, which he does under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. Also, the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening to its place, it rises there again. Blowing toward the south, then turning toward the north, the wind continues swirling along, and on its circular courses the wind returns. All the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow again. All things are wearisome. Man is not able to tell it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor is the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. So there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one might say, see, it is new? Already it has existed for ages which were before us. There is no remembrance of earlier things, and also of the later things which will occur. There will be for them no remembrance among those who will come later still. 3,000 years ago, he is writing. He is the king of Israel. I believe it really was King Solomon that wrote this in his later life. We're going to continue on, verse 12. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I have set my mind to seek and explore by wisdom concerning all that has been done under heaven. It is a grievous task which God has given to the sons of men to be afflicted with. I have seen all the works which have been done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity, and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, behold, I have magnified and increased wisdom more than all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my mind has observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and I set my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I realize that this also is a striving after wind, because in much wisdom there is much grief, and increasing knowledge results in increasing pain. Does that resonate with you? The more that you become aware, the more that you learn, you realize how little we know, or really we don't even know the things that we don't know. And when you do get some wisdom, when you just become more desperate, because it's like, what's the point? The biggest questions aren't being answered. The biggest things that my soul is not being satisfied. I'm getting up, going to work every day. I might love my job. I might hate my job. It kind of fluctuates. It goes up and down. Sometimes I feel good about it. Sometimes I don't. And then it's like even if you do love it, You're worried that you might lose it. And even if you hate it, you're like, why am I doing this? Chapter 2. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure. So enjoy yourself. And behold, it was too futility. I said of laughter, it is madness. And of pleasure, what does it accomplish? I explored with my mind how to stimulate my body with wine, while my mind was guiding me wisely, and how to take hold of folly until I could see what good there is for the sons of men to do under heaven for a few years of their lives. I enlarged my works, I built houses for myself, I planted vineyards for myself, I made gardens and parks for myself, and I planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made ponds of water for myself from which to irrigate a forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and I had home-born slaves. Also, I possessed flocks and herds larger than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. Also, I collected for myself silver and gold, and the treasures of kings and provinces. I provided for myself male and female singers, and the pleasures of men, many concubines. Those aren't combines, those are concubines. That's women. King Solomon had a harem. He had women upon women. A lot of it was probably just to marry for a, almost like peace with other countries. They're strategic just to marry the king's daughter of another place and just to make peace treaties and all that. But he had women, and he had all the women he wanted. He had all the women he wanted. It sounds like he's living high on the hog. He's got everything that we all want. Andrew Hart, I just flip this. Andrew Tate, eat your heart out. That's what that was what I was thinking. But you ever have that where you think a word ahead what you're going to say and you just flip it ahead and you insert it? Happens all the time. I hear other people do it all the time, not just me. Then I became great and increased more than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also stood by me. All that my eyes desired, I did not refuse them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart was pleased because of all my labor, and this was my reward for all my labor. Thus I considered all my activities which my hands had done, and the labor which I had exerted, and behold, all was vanity, and striving after wind, and there was no profit under the sun. He did all of that. He had it all. I mean, I think it makes me think of Tony Montana. He got it all. You know, he did it by wicked means at times. You know, he killed people. King Solomon, he's just a king. He's got the most riches, the most women, the most land, and he's got everything you could want. And he ends it by saying all was vanity. It was pointless. We're going to take a look at this. This is Duncan Trussell. He was on the Data Jones podcast. And what he brought up about this was actually very interesting because it's in this whole context of talking about Peter Thiel's lectures over the Antichrist, and he actually was able to be a part of one of those sit downs, one of those lectures. I didn't think there was a total of 4, and it's in that context this gets brought up about money that these wealthy people out there, they have everything they want, but are they satisfied? Are they content, or have they reached the point of view where they understand it doesn't really buy happiness?
Probably like one of the side effects of having a lot of money is you...
And earmuffs for anyone that cares about that. He is going to drop the F word.
Begin to realize that like none of this is making me happy. It's not working. Like this dream, like I've got the yachts and I have more money than I could ever spend in a lifetime, but I'm miserable. Why? What is that? It's the best question of all time. And until you like have that experience, you might just think when you hear, money doesn't bring happiness, you're like, shut the fuck up. I can't pay my rent.
Right.
You know what that's like? That's scary. And so you imagine at some point when you have X amount of money in your accounts, all that background hum, anxiety, depression, all that stuff that you have attached to lack of money will go away, but it doesn't. Now what? You want to find something not so rooted in the world. So, and also, like the shit's about to hit the fan. And that's a perfect mind state to become a Christian.
All right. What he said there that's very strong, very strong. And I love, he says that background, that hum of anxiety that you think that it's going to go away. Once I can pay my bills, once I have everything I could ever want, it's still there. And it's the people that are on the top that realize that. And I think a lot of people, if you're American, you're more well off than 99% of the rest of the world. you have more wealth. And if you take it in that, if you are reminded of that, you're not like, oh yeah, you would say the same thing as him. Shut the freak up. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't help anything. I still got things I gotta keep earning. I still gotta make money. I don't have all that I need. I think I need more. We always just think we need more. And if that more equates to happiness, or we think that it's going to equate to happiness, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And any rich person out there, and I've heard Joe Rogan say this multiple times. He'll say that all you need, if you can go into a restaurant and you don't have to worry about the bill, and not everybody even can do that. But he said, if you can do that, that's all you need. The rest is bullshit. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Like, that's all you need. And really, if we really dial it down, if we really pin it down, we don't need anything. The Bible even goes even further. With the Apostle Paul said, with food and shelter, with these we shall be content. Food and shelter, he's with clothing. That's all you need. Food and your basic necessities. But I mean, I don't feel like that. I always feel like I need to keep going. I need more. You get a bigger garage, you got to fill it with more cars. You make more money, you got to spend it on something else. You get a house, you got to fill it up with things. You need a bigger house, and then you got bigger bills. And it's just like, it just keeps growing and growing. It's like, when does it become enough? When does it ever become enough? You know, if we really just forget about this world, the world that we're living in, and looking at everybody else, the Joneses over there, they got, the perfect life, whereas they're probably struggling just as much as you or I am. And if we dial it down to the Bible, we see an example. That's why the grace of God, he gave us an example of King Solomon, who he had lived that life. He had everything we could ever want. He had all his needs met. There was nothing else he needed at all, and he still is realizing it. And this is towards the end of his life, because we see through his life, he got led away from the Lord many times, and it was by the women that he married to, and that he started following after their gods. Oh, I'm wedded to this woman, so she's a pagan or whatever. I guess I'll just go and sacrifice to her God just to keep the peace. I don't want this woman getting mad at me, or her daddy getting mad at me. I'm just going to go and I'm going to do the sacrifices, and he gets lured in little by little, and he starts just falling away from the Lord, falling away from following God and his commandments. And that's why I would say this is towards the end of his life. He has experienced it all. He's an old man. He's reflecting. Chapter 2, verse 12. So I turned to consider wisdom, madness, and folly. For what will the man do who will come after me after the king, except what has already been done? And I saw that wisdom excels folly as light excels darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I know that one fate befalls them both. Then I said to myself, as is the fate of the fool, it will also befall me. Why then have I been extremely wise? So I said to myself, this too is vanity. For there is no lasting remembrance of the wise man as with the fool, inasmuch as in the coming days all will be forgotten, and how the wise man and the fool alike die. So I hated life, for the work which had been done under the sun was grievous to me, because everything is futility and striving after wind. Thus I hated all the fruit of my labor, for which I had labored under the sun, for I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool? Yet he will have control over all the fruit of my labor, for which I have labored by acting wisely under the sun. This too is vanity. Therefore I completely despaired of all the fruit of my labor, for which I had labored under the sun. When there is a man who has labored with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, then he gives his legacy to one who has not labored with them. This too is vanity and a great evil. For what does a man get in all his labor and in his striving with which he labors under the sun? Because all his days his task is painful and grievous. Even at night his mind does not rest. This too is vanity. There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and tell himself that his labor is good. This also I have seen that it is from the hand of God. For who can eat and who can have enjoyment without him? For to a person who is good in his sight, he has given wisdom and knowledge and joy, while to the sinner he has given the task of gathering and collecting, so that he may give to one who is good in God's sight. This too is vanity and striving after wind. This is from the perspective of just, if we just from we don't say there is no God and we're living in this life, it's just secular mindset. Really. Like there's no afterlife, there's no beyond this grave. Why am I striving to accumulate more and more wealth, build bigger and bigger houses, bigger and bigger barns, create a much greater company and make it awesome and awesome, where I'm going to die eventually? And it's the people that are after me, what they do with it, I have no control over. And they could just run it into the ground and make it just like poof into nothingness the next day. So it's just I know we're on this rat race. We feel like we just got to keep going no matter what. We are forced to. God has put it in us that we have to keep going. We are like just nonstop. Our mind is always rolling. It's always going, and we have to put our energy to something. But it's like, if we don't get certain things right, we're going to be just driving for no reason. There's going to be no point at the end of the road where we're going. This is chapter 3. There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to shun embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What profit is there to the workers from that in which he toils? I have seen the task which God has given the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. I mean, I get tired. I get so tired in this life. I mean, just between you and me, like if I can make it through this life without, unaliving myself, sometimes I think I will be successful and I will have won the prize, because sometimes it does get extremely tough. It gets very tough in this life, and it's hard to keep going. And and I know it can sound gay. Oh, you're not. It sounds gay. You just want to unalive yourself. You're suicidal or whatever. I wouldn't say I'm that at all, and I would never, because I mean, there's no point, because I know if I did something to myself, all I'm going to be doing is standing before God. And so it's like I'm in this temporal time where I got to keep going. I have to keep going. And it's like no matter how much it hurts and how much I want to just be into the next life, to move forward, be done with this, I would never. I could never, honestly. But I know anybody can go through something, and you never know. But I've been in those times, and I couldn't bring myself to do anything to actually in my life, because I'm aware of God's presence. Like before I became a Christian, I joked about like that. I don't know if I really joked about it, but there were serious times that people in my life, wanted to do that kind of thing. And I was just like, I didn't want to be anything of it, because all I was just thinking about other people. You're kind of like just on a show before you become a Christian. You think everything revolves around you, and that everybody's watching you, everybody's concerned with you. And if you die, all you're going to be there is you're going to be there watching how are people going to act if I'm gone? What are they going to be like? And it's all about you. Whereas, now that I am a Christian, I'm aware of God's presence. I know if I died, it's not going to be that like, oh, I get to see how other people are going to react to me being gone. How's that? That's going to be interesting. That'll be fun. Oh, will they really care about me? No, I'm going to be right in front of God's presence. And I would have done something wrong, very wrong. My last final act of doing that. It's not ours to take. We shouldn't do that. But it gets tough, and that can seem kind of black and dark. And it is. For me, it is. I'm just being honest with you. It is black and dark. It gets very dark and tough at times. And I don't know about you. If everything's great for you, that's great. But I know it's not. I know it's not always great for anyone. I know it's not. He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their heart. Yet so that man will not find out the work which God has done from the beginning even to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks sees good in all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will remain forever. There is nothing to add to it, and there is nothing to take from it. For God has so worked that men should fear him. That which is has already been, and that which will be has already been. For God seeks what has passed by. Furthermore, I have seen under the sun that in the place of justice there is wickedness, and in the place of righteousness there is wickedness. I said to myself, God will judge both the righteous man and the wicked man. For a time for every matter and for every deed is there. I said to myself concerning the sons of men, God has surely tested me in order for them to see that they are but beasts. For the fate of the sons of men and the fate of beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no advantage for man over beast. For all is vanity. All go to the same place. All came from the dust, and all return to the dust. Who knows that the breath of man ascends upward, and the breath of beast descends downward to the earth? I have seen that nothing is better than that man should be happy in his activities, for that is his lot. For who will bring him to see what will occur after him? We're all going to the ground. We're all going to end up in the dirt. We're all going to be, 100 years from now, we're all going to be forgotten for the most part. We might be in some history books depending on who you are. But we're all going to die and be worm food. But our soul, unlike animals, it doesn't just cease to exist. And that I think the animals, they just cease to exist. But what human beings have, they have the spark, the spirit that God has given us that is going to ascend after we die and return to its maker. And that's the difference between God breathed into humans the breath of life that he did not breathe into certain animals on this world. That's why there's a difference between a human dying and a bear dying. There's a difference between a human dying and a fly dying. That humans have the image of God in them. They have the spirit that God has given them, so that there is more of a holiness, a value aspect as opposed to other animals. We are animals. We are fleshly beings, meat machines walking around, moving around. But we have a spark of divine nature in us that God has given us, and that is what's going to return to him when we die. But he brings up the righteous and the wicked. We will all be judged. And it's that same age-old question where he's like, I see the wicked, prospering. I see the righteous, and it's like the question of evil. And that is what trips so many people off for years, centuries, that like, how could an all-powerful God who is good allow this evil world? How could he allow children to have cancer? Children to have AIDS and die and suffer, these innocent beings, innocent humans. And it comes down to, well, as Christians, we would say it's a result of the curse of the fall. We live in a fallen world. There are results and consequences based on our parents' choices, what they did. We were inside of Adam and Eve, everybody, you, me included, we were all inside of them at that point. Metaphorically or whatever, literally, I don't know. But we were all there, and they were making the decision for us. They were our representatives. That's what happened. And their sin and whatever happened in the fall in Genesis 3, that is the result of why sin and evil things happen in this world. It is, and it all comes down to, really, it's trust. It's trust that God is going to make everything right. Eventually, he will make everything right. It's not everything evil that's done in this world will either have been paid for on the cross of Christ, or the people that commit evil atrocities will pay for them by themselves. All right, I gotta get a drink. And I got my coffee as well. I gotta take the lid off. Do you ever have that where if you drink coffee, it's like you drink coffee and then you immediately got to drink water, and it's like this back and forth, this yin and yang of, it just like it dehydrates you, and then you got to drink water. And I'm finding that the water I'm drinking is like almost making me more thirsty. It's reminding me of Dasani water, but it's not Dasani. Man, I have been into instant coffee. This guy that I follow on TikTok, actually I don't even follow him. I followed him at one point, but I just watch him every now and then. He's a news guy, and he brought up about instant coffee, and his followers were trying to say, you got to stop drinking that crap and drink the real stuff, and get away from that. But I've actually been drinking instant coffee based on that. I just wanted to, expand my repertoire. I want to be a utility man. I gotta be able to take anything. And so I started drinking it, and I like it a lot. It's Starbucks instant coffee. I could talk about coffee all day long. I'm a connoisseur. I love talking about coffee. It's like the weather, I love talking. I don't actually like talking about the weather. I like talking about coffee though. All right, chapter 4. Then I looked again at all the acts of oppression which were being done under the sun, and behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, and that they had no one to comfort them. And on the other side of their oppressors was power, but they had no one to comfort them. So I congratulated the dead who are already dead more than the living who are still living. But better off than both of them is the one who has never existed, who has never seen the evil activity that is done under the sun. I mean, that's some real words. And he's bringing up a real point that, being brought into this world, it can be a great blessing, but it can also be a great curse. And the people whose lives were cut short, if people are cutting somebody's life short, they'll deal with the consequences of their action. But the one who has had their life cut short, whether, a child, that I believe they will be with the Lord. They will be with him forever. And he's like saying to have never existed. I'm just thinking like, it's very tough to even grapple with the idea that I'm coming into this world and I'm going to suffer under these dark things that this world has to offer. I believe that, children, if they die, before the age of accountability, that they will go to be with the Lord, forever. And so I think that there's a peace that we can all have about that. And I think that King Solomon, him talking about this, it's not that he's laying out like specific doctrine. He's really speaking from the point of view of somebody that is just asking questions, a regular person looking at it, and he's seeing that people that are suffering in this world, it just would be better if you just never existed. But I think there is a deeper truth that someone who does get their life cut short, they do go into the presence of the Lord. I believe that, and I think other places in the Bible hint at that, so that if you have lost a child or anything like that, that you can have peace in that your child is with the Lord. Verse 4, I have seen that every labor and every skill which is done is the result of rivalry between a man and his neighbor. This too is vanity and striving after wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. One handful of rest is better than 2 fists full of labor and striving after wind. Then I looked again at vanity under the sun. There was a certain man without a dependent, having neither a son nor a brother, yet there was no end to all his labor. Indeed, his eyes were not satisfied with riches, and he never asked, and for whom am I laboring and depriving myself of pleasure? This too is vanity, and it is a grievous task. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if 2 lie down together, they keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And if one can overpower him who is alone, 2 can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. A poor yet wise lad is better than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to receive instruction. For he has come out of prison to become king, even though he was born poor in his kingdom. I have seen all this living under the sun throng to the side of the second lad who replaces him. There is no end to all the people, to all who were before them, and even the ones who will come later will not be happy with him. For this too is vanity and striving after wind. Chapter 5. Guard your steps as you go to the house of God, and draw near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools. For they do not know they are doing evil. Do not be hasty in word or impulsive in thought to bring up a matter in the presence of God. For God is in heaven and you are on the earth. Therefore let your words be few. For the dream comes through much effort, and the voice of a fool through many words. When you make a vow to God, do not be late in paying it, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Do not let your speech cause you to sin, and do not say in the presence of the messenger of God that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry on account of your voice and destroy the work of your hands? For in many dreams and in many words there is emptiness. Rather, fear God. If you see oppression of the poor and denial of justice and righteousness in the province, do not be shocked at the sight, for one official watches over another official, and there are higher officials over them. After all, a king who cultivates the field is an advantage to the land. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves abundance with its income. This too is vanity. When good things increase, those who consume them increase, so that it is advantage to their owners except to look on. The sleep of the working man is pleasant, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich man does not allow him to sleep. There is a grievous evil which I have seen under the sun, riches being hoarded by their owner to his hurt. When those riches were lost through a bad investment and he had fathered a son, then there was nothing to support him. As he had come naked from his mother's womb, so will he return as he came. He will take nothing from the fruit of his labor that he can carry in his hand. This also is a grievous evil. Exactly as a man is born, thus will he die. So what is the advantage to him who toils for the wind? Throughout his life, he also eats in darkness with great vexation, sickness, and anger. Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting: to eat, to drink, and enjoy oneself in all one's labor in which he toils under the sun during the few years of his life, which God has given him. For this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also empowered him to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. For he will not consider the years of his life, because God keeps him occupied with the gladness of his heart. So we keep simple lives. I would say if you have a job you like, and even if you don't, I think you can make whatever career or job you're at, wherever place you are at in life, you can make it be enjoyable, because you can look at it as that you're doing it, whatever it is, to the Lord and for the Lord, and doing it unto him, as opposed to unto your employer or your boss. You care more about pleasing God, and that he's right there with you at your job, in your cubicle, or out in the field, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, doing manual labor or whatever, he's right there with you. I do think that there is times where you lose sight of the presence of God based on being in close quarters, as opposed to be out in the world, out in nature, out in the landscape, the forest, the trees, seeing the sky, seeing the sun. Because it's like you can feel sometimes more God's presence when you are not just enclosed in a room. So even if you work somewhere, know that he's right there with you, alongside you. You're doing the work as unto him, doing it faithfully and to your best ability. But then even every now and then step out and go for a walk. And this life, it is a walk with God, moment by moment, step by step, day by day. I feel like I'm about ready to start singing a song. But he is with you every inch of the way. And sometimes it doesn't feel like he is, but he is. Chapter 6, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is prevalent among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that his soul lacks nothing of all that he desires, yet God has not empowered him to eat from them, for a foreigner enjoys them. This is vanity and a severe affliction. If a man fathers 100 children and lives many years, however many they may be, but his soul is not satisfied with good things, and he does not even have a proper burial, then I say, better the miscarriage than he, for it comes in futility and goes into obscurity, and its name is covered in obscurity. It never sees the sun, and it never knows anything. It is better off than he. Even if the other man lives 1,000 years twice and does not enjoy good things, do not all go to one place? All a man's labor is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not satisfied. For what advantage does the wise man have over the fool? What advantage does the poor man have, knowing how to walk before the living? What the eye sees is better than what the soul desires. This too is futility and a striving after wind. Whatever exists has already been named, and it is known what man is. For he cannot dispute for him who is stronger than he is. For there are many words which increase futility. What then is the advantage to a man? For who knows what is good for a man during his lifetime, during the few years of his futile life? He will spend them like a shadow. For who can tell a man what will be after him under the sun? And he's going to bring up that, and we're going to come across this where he says that money is the answer to everything. Because in this life, when you think of just money in general, all your problems, we all feel like money could fix it. And really, it kind of could in this world, in this like present, like just outward reality. It could surface level fix it, but no, it's not going to give you peace. It sometimes could even be a detriment to your life because you're going to think you need more of it. Because that little shot of adrenaline that it gave you, or that little facade of peace that it gave you, you're going to think that's the real deal. And you're going to think you just need more. And it's just the hunger for more and more and to acquire more and more. And I just think of sports people that like whoever it is, the greatest quarterback out there, whether it's Tom Brady or anybody else you think, you're never satisfied with what you just got. You're always satisfied with what you want the next one. You want the next ring, the next win, because that current win, it leaves quickly. It's all like a present that you rip into, you tear open, and it's really just it leaves you with a deflated air. I bring up Tom Brady and then Deflategate, but like it doesn't satisfy you. It really just whets your appetite and makes you more thirsty. Like I'm feeling like I'm drinking water and it's making me more thirsty, but it's not dishonoring. Chapter 7. A good name is better than a good ointment, and the day of one's death is better than one's day of one's birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, because that is the end of every man, and the living takes it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for when a face is sad, a heart may be happy. The mind of the wise is in the house of mourning, while the mind of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is better to listen to the rebuke of a wise man than for one to listen to the song of fools. For as the crackling of thorn bushes under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. And this too is futility. For oppression makes a wise man mad, and a bribe corrupts the heart. The end of a matter is better than the beginning. Patience of spirit is better than haughtiness of spirit. Do not be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger resides in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why is it that former days were better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask about this. Wisdom along with an inheritance is good, and an advantage to those who see the sun. For wisdom is protection, just as money is protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the lives of its possessors. Consider the work of God, for who is able to straighten what he has bent? In the days of prosperity, be happy. In the days of adversity, consider. I just butchered that. Verse 14. In the days of prosperity, be happy. But in the days of adversity, consider. God has made the one as well as the other, so that man will not discover anything that will be after him. It's like God, sometimes it just feels brutal. It really does. To me, it's tough. It's tough. It's like, and I've really been wrangling over this lately. It's just like, I have no control over my life. I can't change a thing. I can't. And I feel like that whatever I think I could do is just a mirage. It's just fake. And God is the one who is steering my life. I believe that. I believe that God is the one, and it's like you just feel useless. And like powerless. And I've went back and forth because I know people will say, you gotta go out there and make a difference. You gotta make the change. You gotta be the change. And it's like, really? I don't think we do. I don't think we can. But I think we gotta keep saying that. I think we gotta feel like that. But it's really God's spark that is the one directing us. And I think that it is a fable for us to think any otherwise. To think that we are the ones controlling our destiny. We are the ones controlling how this next week's going to turn out. Is it going to turn out good or bad? Am I going to make the sale or am I not? Am I going to fail tomorrow or am I going to thrive? Am I going to feel good tomorrow or am I going to feel sick? It's I'm acutely aware of how little power I have. And I know this is the opposite. This is the opposite of what anybody would want to hear, because the people I admire the most don't say this. The people that I admire the most, like Joe Rogan or anybody else, that you got to go out there and you got to make it happen. But the ones saying that are the ones that have made it happen. And I don't necessarily think that it's because of them. I don't. I believe that they're living out and carrying out what the maker, the one behind them, is putting them through, that they're going through it. God is directing their lives. God has put them where they're at. And if they start like thinking, I got myself here by my bootstraps, I'm the one who rolled up my sleeves and did it. I think that is the biggest lie. I think that it's not to say that we don't need to cooperate and try to work with God and do our best, but at the end of the day, really, what are we actually changing? And I've been out of work many times in my life, or lost my job at different points in my life, and tried to apply at different places. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You can put all your energy in and send out applications, do interviews, and the times that I've not had a job or not whatever, and I was struggling or what. It didn't matter how much energy, how much I put out there, I think I still had to keep going and doing the things, but it never really seemed like I was the one that made a difference. It seemed like the door was either open or closed before I got there. And it happened or happened not, irregardless of anything that I brought to the table. And I really think that is the thing. I think that is the legitimate viewpoint, but it's not to say that we shouldn't really keep trying. But I just think it's an illusion to think that we're actually doing anything, that we are actually the ones contributing or making a difference. It's the unseen world and the God behind us, and probably a lot of other evil entities out there that are trying to steer us as well, but they're doing it ultimately from God. He's the one that's directing our lives. I have a really crude example that I'm going to share with you all right now. And there was like this a few months ago, out on my driveway, and this is going to be like, it's going to seem really weird, but there was it was like a centipede or a millipede on the ground, and it was on our back driveway, and I wanted it to go away from our house. I wanted it to get away from our house. I didn't want that bug around our house. I wanted it to go away. So, like, this is going to be very, very crude, very yucky, and you're going to understand why when I'm explaining this. I felt like God, in a sense, in a very, being very tongue-in-cheek saying this, because I was standing over this centipede and I had a staff, this staff and I was directing its course of action. And all I would do is I would put the staff to the right of it and it would have to go this way. And it would start to go the other way. And I would put the staff on the other side and it would have to turn and keep going. And it's like the centipede is doing everything it can. It's like trying to just get away from this weird guy. It has no idea, but and no matter how much energy it's putting forward and trying to take one step ahead of the next and trying to just go and it's like the plans are in its mind, its little mind. But me above him was just every inch of the way, just like I was one to the next. Like the staff was going alongside of it and just keeping it and directed. And it's the course that I wanted it to go, that I was sending it from my house out into it was kind of out to my further like gravel driveway, but just to get it away from there or whatever. But I was wanting it to go there, but it was just trying to go, and I would just put it to the right of it, to the left of it, and I was just steering it. I could have made it go in an exact straight line, But it's just wanting to go every which way it was. And it's probably wanting to try to turn around and go back to the house or to the other side, to the yard over there, or to the yard over there, and trying to do all these things. It doesn't even know what's going on. And it's just a representation of us. We don't know what's going on. We're just like our heads on a swivel. We're just trying to go. But God is the one that's above us every step of the way, along the way, and he's directing our steps. It's going to happen one way or the other. We're going to go where he has determined we're going to go. This is in chapter 7, verse 15. I have seen everything during my lifetime of futility. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs his life in his wickedness. Do not be excessively righteous, and do not be overly wise. Why should you ruin yourself? Do not be excessively wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you grasp one thing and also let go of the other. For the one who fears God comes forth with both of them. Wisdom strengthens a wise man more than 10 rulers who are in a city. Indeed, there is not a righteous man on earth who continually does good and never sins. Also, do not take seriously all words which are spoken, so that you will not hear your servant cursing you. For you also have realized that you, likewise, have many times cursed others. I tested all this with wisdom, and I said, I will be wise. But it was far from me. What has been is remote and exceedingly mysterious. Who can discover it? I directed my mind to know, to investigate, and to seek wisdom and an explanation, and to know the evil of folly and the foolishness of madness. And I discovered more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are chains. One who is pleasing to God will escape from her, but the sinner will be captured by her. Watch out for women. Watch out for women. But watch out for men, women. Find the right man, and guys, find the right woman. There's people that aren't doing right on both sexes, you know? Behold, I have discovered this, says the preacher, adding one thing to another to find an explanation, which I am still seeking but have not found. I have found one man among 1,000, but I have not found a woman among all these. Behold, I have found only this, that God made men upright, but they have sought out many devices. Chapter 8. Who is like the wise man, and who knows the interpretation of a matter? A man's wisdom illumines him and causes his stern face to beam. I say, keep the command of the king because of the oath before God. Do not be in a hurry to leave him. Do not join in an evil matter, for he will do whatever he pleases, since the word of the king is authoritative. Who will say to him, what are you doing? He who keeps a royal command experiences no trouble, for a wise heart knows the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and procedure for every delight, though a man's trouble is heavy upon him. If no one knows what will happen, who can tell him when it will happen? No man has authority to restrain the wind with the wind, or authority over the day of death. And there is no discharge in the time of war, and evil will not deliver those who practice it. All this I have seen and applied my mind to every deed that has been done under the sun, wherein a man has exercised authority over another man to his hurt. So then I have seen the wicked buried, those who used to go in and out from the holy place, and they are soon forgotten in the city where they did thus. This too is futility, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed quickly. Therefore the hearts of the sons of men among them are given fully to do evil. Although a sinner does evil 100 times and may lengthen his life, still I know that it will not be well for those who fear God. Still I know that it will be well for those. That's a big difference. Still I know that it will be well for those who fear God, who fear him openly. But it will not be well for the evil man, and he will not lengthen his days like a shadow, because he does not fear God. There is futility which is done on the earth. That is, there are righteous men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the wicked. On the other hand, there are evil men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the righteous. I say that this too is futility. So I commended pleasure, for there is nothing good for a man under the sun except to eat and to drink and to be merry. And this will stand by him in his toils throughout the days of his life, which God has given him under the sun. When I gave my heart to know wisdom and to see the task which has been done on the earth, even though one should never sleep day or night, and I saw every work of God, I concluded that man cannot discover the work which has been done under the sun. Even though a man should seek laboriously, he will not discover. And though the wise man should say, I know, he cannot discover. We're in chapter 9. There are a lot of questions. I mean, keep it from they didn't have all the things that we have now. They led a lot more simpler lives back then. A lot more. I mean, even like before pretty much everyone who I'm talking to right now, you've grown up in a world where there's been internet, there's been cars, there's been electronics. We've had the light bulb for who knows how long. We've had a lot of things that back then that they didn't have, and this world has sped up. It's increasing in knowledge and wisdom daily. We're about to reach general AI intelligence. The AI is like we're on the cusp of like massive overlord of AI. So things are hyping up and building up a lot more than back then, but they still had the same issues. And it doesn't matter if we reach AI, general intelligence, AGI, we're still going to have the same problems. And even if we reach where everybody has the plentiful of resources, more than we could ever handle, if we don't remind ourselves of what Scripture said thousands and thousands of years ago, we're going to come out worse, and we're not going to be satisfied. It's never going to be enough. We might be able to start doing just what we want, but in the deep part of our heart, we're going to still feel that emptiness, because it's not a matter of the resources you have or how much money or how much women or how much house or how much whatever your sports teams win. Your sport teams win. My Chiefs, they won like 2 or 3 years almost in a row. They won 2 years in a row. They almost went pretty good. But like they lost this year, and it's never enough. It's like, did they ever win? Did my team ever go to the Super Bowl? You forget about it the next day. It's never enough. Whatever you have acquired, it's never enough. You never feel satisfied. It's like it's always you just want something else. You want whatever else is the other shiny object. What other else is around the corner? We think that that's going to make me happy, and it's like it never does. It never truly fully satisfies. And King Solomon, like, this is the wisdom that God has given us. However you think the Bible got put together, it has stood the test of time. Ancient wisdom. And it's like we've grown up in an age where I think the devil has rewired our brains to thinking whatever is new is good. Whatever is novel is great. As opposed to what has stood the test of time. That is the wisdom, the true godly wisdom that is from above. It's lasted. It's what matters. It's what's going to have a difference, because it's not, we're going to come up with things new and then they're going to fade away. What's lasting is God's wisdom. And it's what we're seeing from the Bible and from what this king said thousands and thousands of years ago. Chapter 9, for I have taken all this to my heart and explain it, that righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hand of God. Man does not know whether it will be love or hatred. Anything awaits him. It is the same for all. There is one fate for the righteous and for the wicked, for the good, for the clean, and for the unclean, for the man who offers a sacrifice, and for the one who does not sacrifice. As the good man is, so is the sinner. As the swearer is, so is the one who is afraid to swear. Keep in mind, he's speaking from the perspective of just a natural man. If you have just the natural man, it's not to say that like everybody's the same. We're all going to end up in the same place. The same place he's talking about is the ground. We're all going to end up in the ground. So it's from just the natural secular mindset that he's speaking of. Verse 3, this is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that there is one fate for all men. Furthermore, the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil, and insanity is in their hearts throughout their lives. Afterwards they go to the dead. For whoever is joined with all the living, there is hope. Surely a live dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything, nor have they any longer a reward, for their memory is forgotten. Indeed, their love, their hate, and their zeal have already perished, and they will no longer have a share in all that is done under the sun. Go then, eat your bread in happiness, and drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has already approved your works. Let your clothes be white all the time, and let not the oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with the woman whom you love all the days of your life, all the days of your fleeting life, which he has given to you under the sun. For this is your reward in life and in your toil in which you have labored under the sun. always feel like the next shoe is going to drop. Does anybody, no matter what, no matter how many, if things are just rolling and going good, it's like you go ebbs and flows. It's like this roller coaster, up and down, up. And it's like when everything's are going good, you're like, oh crap, something bad's around the corner. Something bad is about to happen. Something is that I'm not aware of. It's about to happen. And I can tell because of how good things are going. But when you're in the valley, in the darkest valley, you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking things are about to go up. No, it's just all you see is my life is miserable. I want to unalive myself. I'm tired of this. I want to give up. I cannot keep going. And some people, their ebb and flow, their up and down is different. Some people stay at a more neutral level, but we all go through it in some form or fashion. But it's being aware that you're going through it. I mean, you're aware that you're gonna go through it is what's going to help you the most. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. For there is no activity or planning or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol where you are going. I again saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, and the battle is not to the warriors, and neither is bread to the wise, nor wealth to the discerning, nor favor to men of ability. For time and chance overtake them all. Moreover, man does not know his time. Like fish caught in a treacherous net and birds trapped in a snare, so the sons of men are ensnared at an evil time when it suddenly falls on them. Also, this I came to see as wisdom under the sun, and it impressed me. There was a small city with few men in it, and a great king came to it, surrounded it, and constructed large siege works against it. But there was found in it a poor wise man, and he delivered the city by his wisdom. Yet no one remembered that poor man. So I said, wisdom is better than strength, but the wisdom of the poor man is despised, and his words are not heeded. The words of the wise heard in quietness are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Chapter 10. Dead flies make a perfumer's oil stink. So a little foolishness is weightier than wisdom and honor. A wise man's heart directs him toward the right, but the foolish man's heart directs him toward the left. Even when the fool walks along the road, his sense is lacking, and he demonstrates to everyone that he is a fool. If the ruler's temper rises against you, do not abandon your position, because composure allays great offenses. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, like an error which goes forth from the ruler. Folly is set in many exalted places, which rich men sit in humble places. I have seen slaves riding on horses, and princes walking like slaves on the land. He who digs a pit may fall into it, and a serpent may bite him, who breaks through a wall. He who quarries stones may be hurt. Gosh, I'm butchering this. He who quarries stones may be hurt by them, and he who splits logs may be endangered by them. If the axe is dull and he does not sharpen its edge, then he must exert more strength. Wisdom has the advantage of giving success. If the serpent bites before being charmed, there is no profit for the charmer. Words from the mouth of a wise man are gracious, while the lips of a fool consume him. The beginning of his talking is folly, and the end of it is wicked madness. Yet the fool multiplies words. No man knows what will happen, and who can tell him what will come after him? The toil of a fool so wearies him that he does not even know how to go to a city. Woe to you, O land, whose king is a lad, and whose princes feast in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, whose king is of nobility, and whose princes eat at the appropriate time, for strength and not for drunkenness. Through indolence the rafters sag, and through slackness the house leaks. Men prepare a meal for enjoyment, and wine makes life merry. And money is the answer to everything. There it is. I'm going to read that again. Men prepare a meal for enjoyment, and wine makes life merry, and money is the answer to everything. You didn't think you'd see that in the Bible, did you? Furthermore, in your bedchamber do not curse a king, and in your sleeping rooms do not curse a rich man, for a bird of the heavens will carry the sound, and the winged creature will make the matter known. So if you don't read Ecclesiastes in the context which it's written, and for the purpose which it's written, and from the perspective which it's written, you miss a lot of things and they don't make sense. When it says something like the money is the answer to everything, that really stands out to me. And it really resonates with me because if you're really thoughtful and honest about it, a lot of our problems could be answered in this natural world by money somehow, in some form or fashion. But it still would not lead us to full enjoyment of life and true life. It wouldn't. It would deceive us to thinking it does. Sometimes the richest people can be the worst off people because they're so bought into they don't need God. They can take care of themselves. And they're further and further away from being in a condition that can reach out to God, to be close to God, to think they need him. Because at the end of the day, the poorest people can be in a better position because you understand you're dependent. I have no power, so I'm going to reach to the one who has ultimate power, as opposed to just thinking I can do it all on my own. And I think that's what rich people do. But like it stands out to me because it's like it is a real thing. Money could answer everything in this life, but it can be deceptive at the same time. Money is neutral. It's neutral, but it can also, the love of money is what's evil. What just can tarnish our soul and hurt our soul. All right, 2 more chapters. Chapter 11. Cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Divide your portion to 7 or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. If the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth. And whether a tree falls toward the south or toward the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. I got to point this out because that is the verse that I've heard that R.C. Sproul, who is no longer with us, he's with the Lord right now, I've heard that was the verse that he said that converted him to Christianity. Let me just read it again to you and think, how could that verse convert you to Christianity? But verse 3, it says, if the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth, and whether a tree falls toward the south or toward the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. And that verse converted arguably one of the greatest theologians we've had in a long time in history. You know, I believe R.C. Sproul he's a person that has been more of an influence in my life spiritually than really anyone else. Him and Daniel Thomas Lancaster are probably the biggest spiritual influences of my life. But it goes to show that God can use anything. Because at any moment, it's when God turns on the lights. It's when God enlivens our spirit that we reach out to him. It's at that moment that he does it. He calls us. He's the one who calls us, Lazarus, come forth. He's the one who says it. And it's like at that moment, our spirit is made alive and we come forth. So it's like God can use anything, but at the end of the day, it's really him that's doing it. You know, we're the one, that's just, I wouldn't even say cooperating. We're just like drug. We are drug. We are pulled to him. There's nowhere else we can go. He does it 100%. It's fully him. And if we want to try to assume like that 0.0001% to ourselves, it's just that much glory we're taking from him. We are. It's not to say after you become a Christian, we got to strive and to yield to the Spirit and work with God's Spirit to try to, our salvation, and as in trying to do good things and do the works that God's prepared before us in advance. But, it's that initial calling. It's him. It's him that does it. He makes us alive. And I think that just goes to show with a verse like that, God just said, R.C., you're mine. You're mine. He who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap. Just as you do not know the path of the wind and how bones are formed in the womb of the pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes all things. Wow. Sow your seed in the morning and do not be idle in the evening, for you do not know whether morning or evening sowing will succeed, or whether both of them alike will be good. That's life. Keep sowing, keep going. That's like all you can do. But it's like God is the one who does it. Like we're to just keep scattering seed, live our life, do the best we can, try to build whatever it is we're trying to build, try to go and make money, take care of our family, do whatever it is in our life that we're doing, Keep going. Just keep going. Give it all 110%. Every breath, leave it all out on the field kind of thing. But God is going to prosper and make alive what he wants to do, what he wants to happen. That worm, that I was directing, he wants to go every which way. God is the one saying, no, you're going that way. You're going that way. You're going that way for his purposes. Verse 7, the light is pleasant and it is good for the eyes to see the sun. Indeed, if a man should live many years, let him rejoice in them all, and let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. Everything that is to come will be futility. Rejoice, young man, during your childhood, and let your heart be pleasant during the days of your manhood, and follow the impulses of your heart and the desires of your eyes. Yet know that God will bring you to judgment for all these things. So, remove grief and anger from your heart and put away pain from your body, because childhood and the prime of life are fleeting. Anyone who's above the age of 30 understands that. All right, chapter 12. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth. So this is going to be the summary, and the last chapter and the last verses is where he's went through everything, he's reflected on everything in his life, and he's going to come to a conclusion. And this is where he's going to give up these images and these metaphors, and they're really things that reflect certain parts of life. We're going to get to them, and it's almost like a euphemism for something deeper. Like your body is breaking down, you're losing your teeth, everything, you're decaying as we speak. Says, I'm going to start this over verse 1 of chapter 12. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near, when you will say, I have no delight in them. Before the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the rain. In the day that the watchmen of the house tremble, and the mighty men stoop, the grinding ones stand idle because they are few, and those who look through windows grow dim. He's talking about those who look through windows. Your eyes, you're losing eyesight. The grinders, there's not many left of them. Your teeth are falling out. And the doors on the street are shut as the sound of the grinding mill is low, and one will arise at the sound of the bird, and all the daughters of song will sing softly. Furthermore, men are afraid of a high place and of terrors on the road. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags himself along, and the caperberry is ineffective. For man goes to his eternal home, while mourners go about in the street. Remember him before the silver cord is broken, and the golden bowl is crushed, and the pitcher by the well is shattered, and the wheel at the cistern is crushed. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. In addition to being a wise man, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, and he pondered, searched out, and arranged many proverbs. The preacher sought to find delightful words and to write words of truth correctly. The words of wise men are like goads, and masters of these collections are like well-driven nails. They are given by one shepherd. But beyond this, my son, be warned. The writing of many books is endless, and excessive devotion to books is wearying to the body. Here's the conclusion. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. For God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil. Every word that we have spoken, everything that we have done will be called to account at one point, and that can be very terrifying. But if you are in Christ, if you have placed your trust in Jesus Christ, the bad things that you have done will be paid for. All your sin will be paid for. You will be evaluated on Judgment Day when we will stand before the judgment seat of Christ. Christians, believers that are saved, from all history, we will be evaluated, and at that point, it will be just a matter of rewards. That Christians, the things that they have done in their life, good things that they have done, will stand the fire, the final test of fire that God delivers to all of us. But your sin will have all been paid for. So that's the biggest thing. But he sums it up well. He says, fear God and keep his commandments. That's it. And what's his commandment? Trust in the one whom he has sent. That is his commandment. Of course, there are all of these other commandments. Not everything applies to every individual, every single person. It's different, it applies differently. But the main commandment is trust in Jesus. And then you come to him, get cleaned up, and then he will wash you to walk out new, to walk out, to be Lazarus who has come forth. Remove the bandages, remove all these things that were covering the diseases or whatever we had, the suffering that we went through. Remove them, and we are going to walk into newness of life, and that's what it is. All right, we'll leave it at this. I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, a great week ahead, and just know that God is with you. Whatever you're going through, God is with you. Christ is with you, and have a great day. God bless you.